My name is Sean Mulholland. I'm a professor of economics at Stonehill College in Easton, Massachusetts, just south of Boston. And I'm currently teaching a writing course for first-year students called The Undercover Economist. And I'm also doing some work on hate groups and hate crimes in my research. Like most students, I bounced around, not really knowing exactly what I was interested in. I enjoyed math, and so in order to get a math degree, I had to take a social science, and economics seemed to be the thing that was somewhat interesting to me at the time. I took an intro class and became even more interested in it. And then I took another class, and I met some really gifted faculty who were willing to, talk to me after class. People like Bruce Yandel and Robert Chmura and Dan Benjamin, and they'd pick my brain more than I thought they would. And I then asked, well, what do you do? And Robert Chmura said, well, just come to my office tomorrow. And so he's like, well, I have these research ideas that I'm interested in, and here's 2 or 3 of them, and are you interested in these? And I said, yeah, I'm interested in CEO pay. And so he's like, well, here's some data, let's go play with it. And that just kind of kicked it off. And we've since co-authored 2 papers, and that's kind of how I got interested in economics. So one of the areas that I've done research on is in hate groups, and I've had 2 papers that have come out. And basically, so a hate group is some organization like a Ku Klux Klan or neo-Nazi organizations, and the concern is that they oftentimes violently try to impose their ideas on others. And so I went out first kind of to see if certain local government programs affected the likelihood that one of these organizations would form and be established in a county. And so my hypothesis was that usually if you're a neo-Nazi, you'll have a skinhead or have tattoos that clearly show this. And so it reduces your labor market opportunities, right? It's hard to get a job when you're running around in combat boots and skinhead and you have a swastika on your shoulder. So I said, well, I wonder if some of these government assistance programs actually help people and express those views because, well, what's the loss? If I don't have a job, at least I have some assistance. And it turns out that seems to be the case. At least the one paper I had found that you're more likely to see the formation of a group in a location that has higher welfare payment assistance. So then I kind of also, though, in that discussion got concerned that maybe these hate groups weren't actually committing hate crimes. In other words, they're present, but they're not the reason why hate crimes are being committed. Hate crimes are being committed by certain individuals that just have some anger about some minority or some situation that brings them to anger, and they create some crime that is based on, or at least somewhat based on, that person's religious status, sex, ethnicity, and such. So I went and looked and said, is there a relationship between hate groups and hate crime? So it turns out that it is. It's about 19% more likely to have a hate crime take place in a county where a hate group is present. And what's more interesting, I think, is that it's white supremacist groups, when they're present, you're more likely to see a hate crime against a minority, but you're not likely to see an increase in hate crimes against whites, right? So it turns out that there's no relationship between anti-white hate crimes and white supremacist organizations, but there is with minority hate crimes and white supremacist organizations, which suggests that they actually have some role. Because if we just saw an increase in hate crime across all kinds of groups, you'd say well, maybe it's not them actually committing these or members committing these hate crimes. So that's something I've been working on. Most recently, because of the income inequality, I've been interested in whether government regulation is actually causing this increase in inequality by increasing the income of those at the top income through their connections or through altering firm size so that people who are CEOs and such oversee a larger firm and therefore get higher compensation than the firm would otherwise be. One of the things that we see is we've seen an increase in firm size over time, and larger firms are associated with higher salaries. And so we've seen an increase in income inequality across various occupations. And so the question is, what's driving this? And I think, and we're in the process of finding out, whether some of that's due to regulation. So different types of regulation increase the fixed costs of a firm. So in order to kind of overcome that, firms have a tendency to get larger in size. That means that the CEO and the CFO oversee a larger firm, which means their salaries are going to go up because a small error in their decision is going to have a larger effect. And so my question is basically, did regulation, for various things, labor regulation, environmental regulation, did those cause firms to get larger? And when firms got larger, we saw a larger variation in income or salary for individuals. So that would be why we see this increase in income inequality driven by people at the top. And so that's what we're in the process of doing.